Hello, everyone. I'm Father Alexander Hart, Rector, St. John the Divine Episcopal Church in Sun City Center.
And I am a friend of Alex. I'm David, and I am the rector of All Angels by the Sea on Longboat Key. Alex, the Gulf this morning was absolutely flat and gorgeous. It's a beautiful day out here, and I would like to announce we have no hurricanes, but there is something forming just south of Cuba. But I'm not worried. So.
We don't worry until we need to worry, and I really do need to get out by the Gulf and just put my feet in the water, see how it feels.
Yeah, so the water temperature is just a little above 80, which is good. Which means hurricanes can still form, but
right.
The 78 number is the number we're shooting for. That's it. And for those of you that are listening around the country and you're like, wait, it's the middle of October, late October, and the Gulf is still 80-something degrees. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, welcome to 2025. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But, you know...
and folks, you're listening to A Bridge Between, where Alex and I will bridge our knowledge of the gospel, or perhaps even of the second letter to Timothy, and current events, things that are going on in our lives, and to help you who are preaching. And if this is Sunday morning, October 26th, and you still have no sermon, you are in the right place. You will get something to talk about today.
If it is Sunday morning, just play us. Just
hit play.
Just get a screen out and just play us. We'll do the sermon for you. Don't worry about it.
And start at this moment. Forget about the stuff about the weather, right? Just start now.
There was no judgment here. There was no judgment.
But what about those who are preaching with their life, Alex?
Then we would recommend not playing it during the service. Wait until you get home.
Oh, yeah. It would be kind of rude to listen to this while you're actually at a service. But yeah. So, yeah. Well, Alex, it's great to see you.
It's good to see you too. And we've got something else that's happening this week, which is we did a Bible study akin to what we did last year during the Lenten season.
Mm-hmm.
And we said we had so much fun with it. We want to do it again. So we did. And it's for the last 5 weeks of the liturgical year, starting with this Sunday. So you can kind of get your groups and everything together to be focusing on those texts. And it ends with Christ the King. Everything will be found at stjohndivine.com/bridge. Link will be in the description. It's going to be 5 videos, 5 weeks. There'll be an ebook, just like we did last time. Share it. And if you have questions, you can always reach out and contact us.
And the ebook has our reflection questions. And so if you have no group and you wanted to do self-study, you can do that as well. So there's room for you to write down your responses to our reflection questions. And these last 5 gospel lessons are outstanding. I mean, of course, it's the gospel. It's outstanding. But the way that these 5 have been arranged are God's secret, highlight God's secret to happiness, which is humility.
Right. So let's talk maybe a little bit between these 2 texts, kind of giving a hint of what we're talking about. But I like 2 Timothy as a text to talk about today, because we talk about the gospel in the Bible study. And do you know what I like about Paul's second letter to Timothy with this part here?
What do you like about this part here, Alex?
Well, I want to read the part that I like.
Okay.
And so this is Paul writing, saying, I'm already being poured out as a libation, and the time of my departure has come. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I've kept the faith. From now on, there is reserved for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on that day, and not only to me, but to all who have longed for his appearing. And so all of this is in the context of I work in a retirement area. Sun City Center is one of the fastest growing zip codes in America for 2 reasons. 1, because we're a retirement destination, and 2, because we're actually becoming a family destination. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is I hear people all the time quoting this text in relation to retirement. And so I hear people talking about, I have fought the good fight, I have run the race, and now it's time for the gold watch and the retirement party, and I am done.
Right.
I'm moving to Florida, right? That's the
No. Right.
that's
Right.
that's the joke. But what's
Right.
interesting is, from a spiritual standpoint, retirement is death in this earthly life,
From a spiritual standpoint, retirement is death. Death as in
physical death.
the gate of eternal life that is opening,
Yeah.
or death as in like what sin does.
No, death is in your life is over.
Got it.
Because as
Okay.
long as we are breathing, we are still called to work for the kingdom. As long as we're
Okay.
breathing, as long as we have a heartbeat, we are still working for the kingdom. And so to use this text as a means of explaining something about retirement doesn't actually track,
Mm-hmm.
because what that means is if I use it for that purpose, then that means I could be just saying, well, I have worked as much as I'm going to work in the church. I don't need to work anymore, and I'm not useful anymore, which is what I'll hear some people say.
Right.
And so I have fought the good fight. I have run the race. I'm done.
Okay. That became apparent when at our diocesan convention, when the bishop was reading out various names of bishops, and would give their name and then say retired, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
is the word that was used each time,
Yeah.
because apparently one doesn't end become being a bishop. One just simply, oh no, resigned, not retired.
Resigned.
It's
Yeah, they
resigned.
resigned. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Different RE word. Yeah. So Bishop so and so resigned. Bishop so and so resigned.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a rule in the Episcopal Church, which I think will be changed sometime soon, in my
Which is
opinion.
72.
About once you're 72, you got to stop, um, which made sense, I guess, for the century, I don't know, 1323, whenever it was developed, that they're like, who can live to 72? Give them a break.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Like,
and I
nobody's
know
ever even going to
people,
retire at 72. They're not going to make it.
right. But
But
I know
what
people
we
have been ordained at 72, that was the beginning of their ministry. And the church won't allow them to work full time. To be paid full time will
right.
allow them to work, of course.
But we've also seen, though, is that among the clergy, just pausing and talking about for the clergy for a second, is that we've seen so many clergy work beyond that 72 because they love the work they're doing, they're
Yeah.
good at it, and they're
Yeah.
desperately needed. And if
Yeah.
you are a retired clergy person living in the sound of my voice, and you would love to come and help me out here, I wouldn't mind. I'm
Right.
kind of busy.
Yeah, both Alex and me, our churches could really, really, really use some retired clergy. So if you happen to be in the Bradenton, Sarasota area and would like to drive out to a beautiful beach community,
Exactly.
boy, oh boy, could I use your help.
Yeah. And that's acknowledging our needs as, just our boundaries and our needs as well. So
Right.
this is why I bring up this point about the concept of retirement, is that as Christians, we need to be very aware that when we retire from the jobs that we have had for 30 years, or we have retired for any job that we've had for a certain amount of time, that does not mean that our life is over.
Right.
What it means is that in many cases, our life is just beginning, because we
Hmm.
actually do now have time to live into God's call in a deeper way,
Right.
dedicating more time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, Paul is talking about something different.
Mhm.
I have up on my screen the Greek word for departure because I was hoping that departure and how the sentence ends with appearing, I was hoping that those two words rhymed, and they
Mm.
don't.
No,
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that he was actually, kicking it
playing around.
MC
Yeah.
style. But but the departure is the final departure. It is what you would expect when a plane takes off from the ground or a ship departs from the dock. It's that type of once leaving, always now gone.
Well, and I think that there's a finality to it. And what's interesting is that Paul ties this finality to a concept of righteousness.
Yeah.
And why does he do that?
Is that a rhetorical, or
No,
did you
I'm
want me to
asking you.
jump in? Okay.
I'm engaging the conversation.
I get it. Yes. Um, I, so the danger here is to try to put ourselves into Paul's mind and what Paul is thinking. And so I can imagine he is in house arrest in Rome. And Alex and I did a little bit of work before we hit record to find out how Paul actually died. Because one of my favorite heretics had said Paul actually escaped and he got to Spain, um, and then he died in Spain. I'm like, I would like to think that, but there is enough outside of Scripture to show us there are enough people talking about Paul's death is that he was beheaded. And believe it or not, folks, that was not a cruel and unusual punishment back in those days. That he was a Roman citizen and that he had crossed Nero, who was the emperor, who was no friend of the
Christians.
way, the Christian movement. No friend at all. Just ask those who died in Antioch. But um, anyway, sorry, I didn't want to go down the road of Nero, who, by the way, if you spell his name out into Roman letters, that's where we get the number 666 from in Revelation. Just to kick it that style.
Your fun fact of the day.
Yeah, that was most likely the way that they are referring to him by not naming him. So just a fun thing. Nero, again, was no friend of the church. So he wanted Paul dead. And so that was the fastest form of execution for a Roman citizen.
The cleanest form of execution, as they might say, in quotation marks.
Right. But Paul here was ready to go. Paul himself, we understand him, again, from non-New Testament sources, that he had been beaten and hit so much that he walked with a really funny gait. His nose was out of shape. I mean, he clearly was ready to go.
Right, but let me come back to the question, which is, why does Paul link this to righteousness? He talks about reserved for me is the crown of righteousness, and the crown is not what you and I might think of as royalty. The crown is what a person who wins the race gets. They get the crown of the, what's the leaves that it's called?
Yeah, right. I can't remember the name of those leaves,
but it's a certain type of leaf that is placed on a person's head to indicate that they have won the race. And so when we talk about the crown of righteousness, it is the symbol of this right relationship with God that has been given. And this is where, like I said, we have to struggle theologically a little bit, because he was willing to struggle. He was willing to proclaim. He was willing to do, quote, the work.
He did.
Right. And he receives a crown, which is a symbol of that. But at the same time, righteousness is really something that is given by God.
So righteousness isn't something that we earn, right? Because it seems as if righteousness nowadays in 21st century North America, that righteousness is something that we do,
right?
That we earn ourselves.
People. Yeah.
Yeah. So describe to me the righteousness that comes from God.
Well, the righteousness that comes from God, I'm not sure I have a good answer for that. I'm going to, be honest, I'm not sure. But I think the righteousness that comes from God is through Christ. We receive righteousness through what Christ has done for us, and it is imputed to us. So I did not do anything to have a righteous relationship with God. It was given to me as a gift freely. I guess maybe I did have an answer. Okay.
You did. I knew it was in there. It was a Platonic thing I just did.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me ask enough questions, it'll draw the answer out. But so what is the difference between God's grace and God's righteousness?
What do you think the difference is, Dave?
Nice. So righteousness, in my opinion, there are others that would disagree with this. It is a Greek word that is based on the Hebrew concept of righteousness, which has at its core, or the root of the Hebrew word, is generosity.
So it's the generosity,
charity, the giving, the pouring out. And so when you see Paul writing, I am already being poured out as a libation, we see his offering, we see this generosity, and that God's overflowing generosity to the people of the Hebrew Bible, that God blessed them, that God made them wealthy, God made them expand, that this sort of righteousness was completely a gift from God for how they can live their lives. And then there was this the law was setting up a huge temperance for you have been blessed, you are to be a blessing. You are to be a light to the nations. Do
Right.
not hold your righteousness over others and consider them with contempt. Instead, take the road of humility, take the road of sacrifice, take the road of loving your neighbors yourself, and that using that moving forward. And, and this is where humanity um, often gets tripped up. That when we feel a sense of righteousness that God has blessed us, sometimes we hold that over others.
Right. And so here's the thing that I'm just desperate to say this because you made me think of it and I don't want to lose it, is when you say Paul is pouring himself out as a libation,
Yep.
it is him responding in kind as best he can to the generosity or righteousness that has been
Mm-hmm.
given by God.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
act. The act is not simply receiving, the act is pouring out. And so the question is, what is Paul pouring out? Who is he pouring it out to? Well, he's
Mm-hmm.
pouring out the proclamation of the kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
right? The gifts of the Spirit, love, charity, all those things. And he's pouring it upon all these people who are reading his letters.
Yeah.
He's pouring it to the people who he has started churches with. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this takes us, if you don't mind, to the gospel.
Oh, I was hoping you would get there.
Right. Because when we begin to talk about being a righteous person is not, quote unquote, a good person, right? I mean, because we're not really good. We can look good, right? But a righteous person is the one who acknowledges what they have been given by God. They didn't deserve it, they didn't earn it, and now they are pouring it out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, going to the gospel, um, Jesus tells a parable about people who trust in themselves that they were righteous and they regard others with contempt, which is what you were just talking about. This idea of I'm a good person, and because I'm a good person, I can. This is why I'm doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about these two men going up to the temple to pray. One's the Pharisee, the other the tax collector. Obviously, Jesus is drawing the dichotomy between the two, right? The
Mm-hmm.
Pharisee says, "Hey, I'm not like other people. I'm not like these adulterers. I'm not like these other people, and I'm certainly not like this tax collector." And he lists all the things that he does
Yeah.
that makes him a righteous person.
Mm-hmm.
But what the tax collector stands far off, afraid to even approach God,
Mm-hmm.
and says, "Be merciful on me, a sinner."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so Jesus says the one who was the tax collector went away justified or in a right relationship with God versus the other one who had
Or
contempt.
happy, as I'm translating it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. He went home happy, and so the question
Yeah.
is, why should I not be like the Pharisee?
Right.
The Pharisee seems like a really happy guy, and he's admired
Does
by many
he?
people.
Does he? I mean, like a happy guy that you would want to hang out with. Thank you that I'm not like other people. I'm not a thief or a rogue or an adulterer.
Well, who are
I
you hanging
fast
out with?
twice a week. I give 10th of my income. I
I mean,
mean,
think about it. If you were to draw in 2025 what we would consider the ideal Christian, right?
okay.
Some people would say it's a good person who doesn't hang out with the wrong crowd, who tithes.
Okay.
I
Sure.
mean, I'm saying in
Yeah.
some groups you
Right.
might have that because,
Oh, yeah.
like, just to go back for a story for a second, I remember growing up, my parents always saying, "Be careful who you hang out with, because that's going to be your destiny."
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so when I think of early on in my life of faith, before I really kind of had a deep awakening, I thought that being righteous was doing good things and being a good person and
Mm-hmm.
being with a good group of people. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
thought those three things were about being
Okay.
righteous.
Okay.
Right? Why am I wrong?
Um, Again, is that rhetorical or do you
No,
want me to?
not. It's
All
not
right.
rhetorical.
All right.
Hit me.
Because I just didn't, Alex. I just checked the time and said, "Oh boy, look at
I
look at
made
where
sure we
we
had the time.
look at where we are on this." Did God give you your friends? Or are you
Yeah.
making that choice yourself?
Well, I mean, God sent me people that I could be friends with, but I chose who my friends are. Yeah.
Okay. And why did you choose your friends that way?
Well, because, like I said, in this model,
Mm-hmm.
it's I want to be with people who are like me, who are
Mm-hmm.
righteous like me,
Mm-hmm.
who have the same values as me.
Mm-hmm. So you have a compass, and it points to the right values.
Well, supposedly
Where does that compass come from?
comes from God if I'm
Amen.
using it.
Right.
But in this
Exactly.
case, the example that I'm giving, if I'm like the Pharisee, I'm using my own compass.
Yes, the compass that you have calibrated for your own
Mhm.
self.
Yep.
That the compass is simply not pointing towards true north, if you will, but pointing away towards other people, saying, "I'm not like that guy, and I'm not like that guy." Um,
Right. And
so,
and the thing is here in the background of all of this for me is the knowledge of who Jesus spent time with.
mhm,
Jesus chose to spend time with the thieves, the rogues, the adulterers, and even the Pharisees and the tax
mhm,
collectors. He was very diverse in that.
mhm,
And so the righteous person is the one who accepts that Jesus is pouring into them,
mhm,
right? Accepts the charity and the love and the forgiveness that Jesus is pouring into them.
mhm,
And then that person pours it into others. And so
right,
you look at Matthew, who is a tax collector.
mhm,
Jesus poured a tremendous amount of love and forgiveness and call into him. And
mhm.
what did Matthew do in return? He poured it into others.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's to me, that's the path of righteousness that we should be seeing. And I gave the example of what Christianity can sometimes look like in our modern age,
mhm,
because so much of our society has become, I am not like that other person. I don't listen to that type of news, or I don't subscribe to this type of idea, or I
mhm.
don't hang out with people who have a difference of opinion from me or who don't have my values. Ergo, I am a righteous person. And this is a hard thing for us to be preaching about, but we need to do it.
Right. And the word that I'm caught up on is contempt, and I'm
Mhm,
not going to get into the Greek word. I was just making sure that it matches what we call it in English,
mhm,
and it is to despise.
mhm.
And so the synonyms that we can use in English would be disdain, which is where despise comes from,
Yeah.
scorn,
Mhm.
that type uh, of looking at the other person and having contempt. And so for those that watch LA Law and those type of shows where you have contempt of
Contempt of
court,
court, yes.
where you are having disdain for the judge and the bailiff and the jury and the law, and it's this complete disdain of it, and there's nothing you do with somebody who is in contempt except to haul them away, to remove them from.
I appreciate the LA Law reference. I didn't have that on the bingo card for today
Thanks.
for the
I meant
podcast.
to say Law and Order, but I
LA Law
just
is
I
okay.
just
LA
went
Law is
the
okay.
right because that
Um,
happened. Yeah.
so coming back to linking the two, linking the
Wait,
gospels. Oh, sorry.
before we
Go ahead.
leave contempt,
Okay.
the issue is that from all that I've been reading, that folks are writing in the New York Times and the Atlantic, the Free Press, those type of things about America's divorce,
Mhm.
and that what feels as if America is having marital problems with itself. It's because of at least this priest believes that we have contempt for those that think differently than us. And when I say us, I don't mean you and me. That people who have a different way of thinking about government, different way of thinking about taxation, et cetera, that it used to be we're on the same side of the coin, and these are all things we can discuss, and by merits we will know which one's the right thing. And I am really, really concerned about the contempt that I'm seeing within within our general society about those who have that type of bumper sticker or those who don't have this. That
Right.
it really
And
really bothers it as a man of faith and trying to move a congregation forward. Contempt in congregation for folks doesn't you cannot grow a church that way.
well, and the thing is, we can be prone to get pushback from either side saying, well, there isn't really a choice. There is only one clear choice. And there is no whataboutism or both sides or things like that, which is why we have to be very careful in the way that we preach.
Yeah.
I think that I don't want to say the cure, but I think something that can promote healing in
Hmm.
between these two groups is, instead of saying, well, what about when you did this or what about when you did that,
Hmm.
is to recognize that both of us, that God through Christ is trying to pour God's self and love and righteousness and mercy into both of us.
Hmm.
Both cups are trying to be filled, right? And that both of us are called to fill one another's cups and others. And I think this is where I come back to the beginning of what I was talking about, of people think that they're retired, so they're done. That's not the case. You still have a big tank that is being poured into, that you yourself also need to pour out of as well.
Hmm.
Um, so that's, I mean, we kind of danced around a lot of different topics today because of the gospel and Paul's letter to Timothy, really giving a lot of different ideas. But if I had to sum it up, it would be that this idea of righteousness, we have to be very careful that our idea of righteousness is more than just, I am a good person and I am better than you. And God loves me more than God loves you. And I am sure of that. That is
Hmm.
a path to destruction.
Yeah. Um, and then it's twins that go with it. And here's how you need to live your life. And these are the
Yes.
things you can do, and these things you can't do.
Right.
And I know that because I'm a righteous person, and I know what's best, and all that type of stuff.
And
That
here's this book on humility I wrote.
Yeah, and here's the book on humility. Thank God I'm not like other people. Um,
I
that would
mean,
be a really funny book to write,
but
actually. But
that's I mean, that's a thing, though. I mean,
that's the
so
thing.
so as we come to the end of our time together this morning, I want people who are preaching with their life and people who are preaching this Sunday to first, because I know I need to do this, is to first take some spiritual accountability about where I think I am in my relationship to God when it comes to righteousness. And am I practicing that sense of thinking that I'm better than others? Or do I have humility to say, gosh, I'm not even worthy to be in the presence of God because I know that I am a sinner? Um,
Mhm.
that's the challenge. So
Mhm.
it's something that I'm going to be praying about this week, and I hope that others will take some time as well.
Yeah. Um, Something I've been working on and writing about, haven't made it anything out there yet, is how to replace contempt with compassion. Because Jesus is pulling us. If you feel as if there's somebody that you see with contempt, to move us towards compassion is I think a Christ-like behavior
Hmm.
that people were regarding him with contempt, especially when we read the Christ the King Sunday reading that's coming up in 5 weeks. The way that they regarded him with a whole bunch of contempt, and instead he saw through them and saw who they were, and then said to God, "Forgive them; they don't
Yeah.
know what they're doing."
Right.
That level of moving can only happen with the power of the Spirit working in us. This is nothing that humans that we can do, that you and I can do on our own. It takes the righteousness from God, that outpouring and that generosity from God for us to look at others with compassion.
Amen. Well, Dave, I'm thankful that you and I are able to pour one another's generosity into one another as charity and love, and I'm thankful that because of that we have something to share with others, and I hope that they enjoy it.
And me too. And I'm appreciative of every person who pours themselves out for a half an hour to listen to Alex and I chat about all sorts of things. So it's wonderful. So thank you for listening and for participating.
All right. And we'll catch you in the next one.
God bless.